the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, stand at attention for the national anthem of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Please remain standing while I invite Ms. Gloria Scepter Augustus to lead us in the opening prayer.
Our Father, we know that you are present in this space. As we gather here to discuss the pertinent and important topic of building sustainable arts and culture industries in Dominica, we ask that you inspire our panelists. Open the hearts and minds of our audience to understand and receive the information and to contribute meaningfully to the discussion. Lord, let us be guided by the fact that our cultural preservation and development is our business. Let us not be silent if we see it being eroded. Let us garner strength and give support to our diverse perspectives without compromising our true talent, creativity, and values as a people. As we are all part of the process, give us the wisdom, courage, and commitment to build a conscious society that respects and values our cultural industries and works towards its benefits for our society. We thank you, Lord, for all those who have not hidden their talent under a stone, and pray, Lord, that they develop and share their gifts for the greater good of our nation. Thank you for traveling mercies for our audience, and pray for continued blessing on the Alwin Foundation and all other arts and cultural related industries in Dominica. Thank you. Amen, Lord.
You may have your seats. Her Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Burton, Mr. Severin Mackenzie, Chair of the Alwin Bully Foundation, and other members of the foundation. Dr. Barry Casimir, Program Officer at UWI Global Campus. Our panelists, Mrs. Anita Bully, Mr. Ian Jackson, Mr. Dylan Regist, and Mr. Raymond Lawrence. Members of the Bully family, whom I see here with us today. Our Chief Cultural Officer, Mr. Ulson Matthew. Audience members here at the Alwin Bully Auditorium, and those who are joining us live via DBS Radio, good evening to everyone. My name is Dr. Kimun Joseph, and it is a pleasure for me to serve as the chair of this panel discussion for this evening. Our topic for this evening is building sustainable arts and culture industries in Dominica. To welcome us all to this particular event, I invite Dr. Barry Casimir, who is the Program Officer at UWI Global Campus, to give some remarks. Dr. Casimir? Oh, we clap for Dr. Casimir. Thank you. Okay.
Her Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Burton, Mr. Severin Mackenzie, Chair, Alwin Bully Foundation, and other members of the foundation, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head, UB Global Campus, Dominica, panelists, Mrs. Anita Bully, Mr. Ian Jackson, Mr. Dylan Regis, and Mr. Raymond Lawrence. Audience members here in the Alwin Bully Auditorium, and those joining us via DBS Radio, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the UE Global Campus, Dominica, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you to this very important panel discussion hosted by the Alwin Bully Foundation under the timely theme, Building Sustainable Arts and Culture Industries in Dominica. This evening's discussion comes at a critical moment in Dominica's cultural journey. Around the world, creative and cultural industries have become major contributors to economic growth, employment, tourism, innovation, and national identity. Yet, their true value extends beyond economics. They preserve our heritage, strengthen our communities, inspire creativity, and tell the unique story of who we are as a people. As the region's premier university, the University of the West Indies recognizes that higher education has a vital role to play in strengthening the creative economy. Universities must do more than preserve knowledge. They must nurture talent, encourage innovation, develop leadership, and create opportunities for sustainable livelihoods. Here at the UB Global Campus in Dominica, we have embraced that responsibility. Through our programs and professional development initiatives, we continue to provide training and equip creatives and cultural practitioners with practical skills to thrive in an increasingly competitive environment. Our workshops and short courses in music business, events management, entrepreneurship, and new venture creation are designed to help artists transform their creative talents into sustainable enterprises. These initiatives reflect our commitment to ensuring that creativity is matched with sound business knowledge, strategic planning, marketing skills, and innovation. Our commitment to arts is also reflected in the spaces we create and preserve. We are especially proud that the university's concert room has been dedicated in memory of Ophelia Olivache Marie, whose outstanding contribution to music and cultural development continues to inspire generations of Dominicans. This dedication serves as a lasting reminder that excellence in the arts deserves recognition and that our cultural pioneers must always have a place within the educational landscape of our nation. This evening's discussion also celebrates the enduring legacy of Dr. Alwin Bully, whose extraordinary contributions to theater, literature, visual arts, carnival, and national cultural development has shaped Dominica's artistic identity. His life's work reminds us that investing in culture is investing in the future of our people. In sum, to our students and emerging creatives, I encourage you to listen carefully, ask questions, envision yourselves as the next generation of cultural leaders and entrepreneurs. The future of Dominica's creative industries will depend greatly on your innovation, passion, and commitment. As we begin this evening's programs, let us approach our discussions with open minds, mutual respect, and shared determination to build a stronger, more resilient cultural sector for Dominica. Thank you for choosing to be here with us this evening. We wish you an engaging, enlightening, and productive discussion. Welcome once again to the UB Global Campus Dominica, and welcome to the Alwin Bully Foundation's panel discussion on building sustainable arts and cultural industries. Thank you and have a good evening.
See, Dr. Kazmi and I have been colleagues for a very long time. And if there's one thing I like about him, is he speaks things into being. So our concert hall is something that we're planning now. But he spoke to it like as if it already exists, you see? Because that's the kind of man that he is. So we are in the process of planning and organizing for our power building in the very front to be converted into a concert hall that will be aptly named after Our Lady of Song. So let's give a clap for us because, you know, we're speaking that into being, and Dr. Kazimi spoke like it already has happened. So thank you very much, Dr. C. All right. I will now, well, as chair, it's my job to introduce the moderator who's going to then take over the proceedings of the panel discussions. And so after the discussions and the open floor, he will then give back to me to conclude this evening's proceedings. So it is now my time now to welcome and to introduce Mr. Severin Mackenzie, who is tonight's moderator and is also the chair of the Alwin Bully Foundation. Mr. Severin Mackenzie is the chair and a founding member of the Alwin Bully Foundation, Inc. Severin is an architect by profession, but before he left to pursue his degree in Cuba, he was a prominent member of the People's Action Theater. In Cuba, he directed The Night Box with a cast of Caribbean students. Upon his return to Dominica, he was a leading member of the Movement for Cultural Awareness, MCA, and directed popular theater productions, a popular production called Death Trap with the Clifton Capuchin Cultural Group. He recently directed Alwin Bully's Streak and was the coordinator of the Poetry and Jazz event in recognition of Eoli Bla's book of poetry, Fragrance of the Dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator for this evening, Mr. Severin Mackenzie.
Good evening to everyone. Just before I start, I would just like to ask all of you to just let's stand and remember all our fallen cultural, artistic heroes for just a few moments. That would be Alwin Bully, Mikey Bruni, Rasmo, Earl, and the list goes on. Eddie Toulon, Loftus. So, thank you very much. Your Excellency, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Mistress Sylvanie Burton and Mr. Burton, the chair of this evening's event, by default, Dr. Kimon Joseph, and his staff from the University of the West Indies Global Campus, Dominica, Dr. Kazimi and Kidisha, is he there? And all the other members, our panelists of tonight's discussion, Mrs. Anita Bully, Mr. Ian Jackson, Mr. Dylan Regis, I got it right? Dylan Regis, and Mr. Raymond Lawrence, members of the Alwin Bully Foundation, distinguished guests joining us here in person. Let me also recognize the Chief Cultural Officer. Thank you for having us, gracing us with your presence, sir. And all those who are following us on DBS Radio. And so this evening marks the first in what we hope will become a continuing series of meaningful discussion on the development of the arts and culture in the Commonwealth of Dominica, and by extension beyond our shores. This discussion on the state of the arts and culture in Dominica emerged from concerns about the public response to several recent productions in which the Alwin Bully Foundation, Inc. has been involved since the passing of Alwin Bully on March 10th, 2023. Productions such as Nightbox, produced by La Coup des Arts de la Dominique, Legendary Echoes, Trick, and more recently, Poetry and Jazz, Cocktail with a Touch of Bouillon, all received a lukewarm response. So I will avoid drawing conclusions about productions by other groups, including the productions of Waituku Bully and Pan in Harmony, the Cicero Singers, and others. However, the limited number of reruns suggests that the public does not have much of an appetite for these productions, may not be as strong as it used to be. This stands in sharp contrast to the 1970s when the People's Action Theatre performed to packed audiences at the St. Gerard's Hall weekend after weekend. Those performances were followed by shows at the RBD Cinema in Portsmouth, the Youth Camp in Londonderry, and in rural communities such as Grand Fond, La Plaine, and other villages. Raymond, you must remember when you did Papa Toussaint in Grand Fond in the late 70s to a packed audience, and the audience came from all of the Southeast. So, the absence of colleagues from the arts and cultural fraternity, the policymakers, the government and opposition representatives, youth leaders, and the news media and business from the audience today is troubling. In the past, a packed opening night for a People's Action Theatre production was almost guaranteed, with friends, relatives, and supporters turning out in strong numbers. Today, we are witnessing a departure from that kind of solidarity and support. If parents, friends, and schoolmates do not feel compelled to support a loved one who is participating in a production, then the challenges facing the arts go far beyond the venue and just our house of culture. Tonight's theme, Building Sustainable Arts and Cultural Industries in Dominica, invites us to examine the sustainability of the arts and cultural industries through the insights of our panel, Mrs. Anita Bully, who will provide a historical perspective. Mr. Ian Jackson will explore monetization within the industry. Am I correct, Ian? And education. All right. Dylan Regis, representing the Generation Z. Is he? Gen Z. So we are pleased to have Dylan with us. We'll offer insight into the generation that we as senior citizens are still trying to understand. In Dominica, many members of this younger generation have never seen, can you imagine that, a full-length play? And musical genres such as reggae, country music, and calypso may feel distant from their taste. Dylan, however, has proven to be an exception. He is an exemplary student and a talented actor, as demonstrated in his role in Strick. He also served as the first vice president of the National Youth Council. And Mr. Raymond Lawrence, who served for so many years as chief cultural officer, who brings deep experience to this conversation. So, I listened to several newscasts this week and was disappointed that tonight's event did not appear to be considered newsworthy by most of the radio stations, if any. The arts and culture sector needs the common voice to advocate on its behalf. As artificial intelligence increasingly challenges and reshapes human creativity, we must put systems in place to ensure that our various art forms survive, evolve, and remain meaningful for the next generation. So, each panelist will make a presentation of about 15 minutes, and will be followed by questions, and we'll have a question and answer session, and we're hoping that this session tonight is going to be as interactive as possible, and it's not only going to be just talk, because I personally would really like us to come up with some substantial recommendations, because, and let me only take this opportunity also to express my sincere solidarity with Kello, the artist, who lost, if not all. If he did not lose all his paintings, it's because he did not have some of them at his home just 2 weeks ago from a fire, which brings into sharp focus the relevance, the importance of we as artists having our work secured somewhere so that when a fire occurs, we do not lose everything. Kello also suffered some burns to his shoulder and to his arm, so please remember him in your prayers. So yes, tonight I am not here to be the one to make the presentation. So at this stage, I'm going to introduce the panelists. And first on the list, on the agenda for the discussion is Mrs. Anita Bully. Anita is a cultural industries consultant who worked in the theater and arts for a number of years, first in Dominica and then in Jamaica when she moved there in the 1990s. They say 1990, but I think it's 1997. In Jamaica, Anita taught part-time at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. She was also the coordinator of a special project that produced 5 short films and a documentary. She began marketing Dominica as a film location in 2003 and was instrumental in getting Disney to film parts of the sequel to Pirates of the Caribbean in Dominica and Mark Burnett Productions to film the 13-part series Pirate Master in Dominica the following year. A member of the National Cultural Council, she is presently production manager and financial controller of Cars Creole Productions Limited and a member of the Alwin Bully Foundation. So Anita will be focusing on the historical perspective in her presentation. Our second panelist for this evening is Mr. Ian Jacko Jackson, recently retired from teaching at the St. Mary's Academy after 25 years. He holds a master's in business administration from the University of Leicester, UK. Ian is a calypso composer, playwright, author, musician. His work in arts and culture gained him a Golden Drum Award in 2014 and the Meritorious Service Award in 2022. Ian Jacko Jackson. Our third presenter is a young man I thought I met almost exactly 1 year ago, right here in this auditorium, when we were trying to get actors for Strick. And this young fellow came in and he had this voice. And I was wondering which part he was going to play in Strick. And then he said, we casted him for something and he said, I want to do Stings. And any of you who saw Strick would recognize the talent that this young fellow has. So Dylan Regis is the first vice president of the Dominica National Youth Council of Dominica the president of the Boys to Men organization, and a member of the Leo Club. Currently, Dylan is a student of the UE Global Campus pursuing his BSc in accounting. He's also an actor and a musician. Dylan is very interested in the development of the performing arts in Dominica and wishes greatly to see its growth. He is above all a follower of Christ. Dylan Regis. And our fourth panelist is, I need not introduce, but I am obliged to, Mr. Lawrence. Raymond Lawrence is a retired Chief Cultural Officer. At present, he is the chairman of the National Emblems Committee and the Comité pour Études Creole, CEC. Raymond worked with Dominica's Division of Culture for 36 years. He was also chairman of the National Cultural Council and chairman of the Independence Committee for many years. He is the artistic director of the longest-serving creative dance group in Dominica, the acclaimed Waitu Kubuli Dance Theater Company, and organizes the Miss Teen Dominica pageant. He was a radio broadcaster for a total of 10 years, first with DBS Radio and then with Radio Antilles International in Montserrat, where he founded and directed the Montserrat Dance Theater for 4 years. He has been involved in the development of the arts and culture for the past 55 years. He is an actor, dancer, choreographer, artist, short story writer, poet, show organizer, and cultural activist. And I must remind radio listeners, those of us who are old enough to remember AC Happenings, Art and Culture, what was it? Artistic and Cultural Happenings, which was one of the most popular cultural and artistic radio programs on radio. And I hope one of those days we will have something like that reintroduced on social media and on the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, Raymond Lawrence, who will join us on the panel tonight. Okay, with all that said, let me introduce Mrs. Anita, pardon? The rules. The rules. Okay, I am not too much of a reliable, obedient thing, but the rules are simple, that we're going to have the presentations of the panelists. Not more than 15 minutes. We're going to keep it to just about 15 minutes. And then we will have some questions and answers, yeah? And then we're hoping that we'll end within 2 hours. Yep. So, Mrs. Bully, I have been given a flag to wave when your time is coming up, so that we do not. I'll give you, if you are going to think and the audience and the masses say, "Go on," I will. But ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Anita Bully.
Thank you very much. Before I start, I want to make a comment that's not part of my time. Okay, in that, I have been given the most difficult task, which is to give you a historical perspective of theater and the arts in Dominica. And you know that is a lot, especially when they want me to deal with stuff like fashion and arts and whatnot. Anyway, I'm going to start off. All right? Dominica has a very rich history, which goes back to the 1940s, a theater history. When one of Jane Austen's classics was performed by the Roseau Literary Club under the direction of Mr. H.V. Wiseman, who was a British education officer. The cast included Lorna Grell Robinson, Pat Napier Honeychurch, Daphne Napier Agar, Helen Dupini, who staged 3 performances at the St. Gerard's Hall. For reasons unknown, the Roseau Literary Club did not stage another play. What happened instead was a production of more British theatre, this time in the form of Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, produced by Ellis Boyd Bellot. In the late 40s and the early 50s, Miss Boyd directed the productions such as The Mikado, The Gondoliers, and Pirates of Penzance. It is felt that these possibly influenced her young cousin Mabel C.C. Boyd, who in her early 20s had already begun to recognize the uniqueness and importance of Dominica's indigenous arts and culture. After marrying Mr. Cordero and spending some years in Trinidad and Venezuela, she returned home in the mid-1950s to form Carrie Artistic Troupe with the main purpose of promoting Dominican culture, particularly the Creole language. In face of strong criticism from the Roseau elite, she staged several concerts incorporating short skits and musicals. She also wrote 2 full-length plays, How Johnny Break the Spell and Vernie, both of which were performed to enthusiastic audiences at St. Gerard's Hall. The importance of Mrs. Cordero's work was recognized locally and regionally, and then Premier E.O. LeBlanc himself, a cultural enthusiast, joined forces with her and established the National Day cultural celebrations. Sissy Cordero remains one of Dominican's leading cultural icons. In the 1950s and 1960s, even while Cordero's work continued, Roseau schools staged elaborate productions of British and American hits, shows such as Eureka, which was done by the Convent High School, She Stoops to Conquer by the Dominica Grammar School, Pandora's Box by St. Martin's School, Godspell, and Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat by St. Mary's Academy, and Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs by the Wesley High School. In 1963, the UWI Extramural Department mounted a drama summer school program which attracted participants from the neighboring islands to be tutored by theater experts such as Noel Vaz and Dennis Scott from Jamaica, Errol Hill from Trinidad and Tobago, and Daphne Joseph Hackett from Barbados. This provided much needed training in all aspects of theater and paved the way for the celebration of the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth. This took place the following year in the form of a festival whose centerpiece was a lavish production of The Merchant of Venice, performed by senior students of 4 secondary schools in existence at this time. This brought to the fore talents of Amma Harris, recently deceased, Alwin Bully, Errol Blackman, Garman Geese, and Parry Bellot, among others, under the direction of Mr. Geoffrey Robinson. The success of this production led to the formation of the Secondary Schools Drama Society, which went on to stage Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, which starred again the likes of Alwin Bully, Amma Harris, Parry Bellot, and myself, then Anita Astavan. This was followed by a large-scale American musical, Meet Arizona, which was performed in the full quadrangle of the Convent High School and directed by Alwin. As most of the members had left school by then, the name of the group was changed to the Little Theater Movement. They staged 3 American plays directed by Amma Harris, but when she left for theater studies in Canada, the group was rudderless for almost a year. This was remedied by the return of Daniel Cordero from England and Alwin from UWI Cave Hill. The two formed a dynamic duo that brought a new socio-political focus to the group, and in keeping with the aims of social transformation, justice, and progressive change, they staged their first drama, Speak, Brother, Speak, which was written by Daniel and directed by Alwin. The play was performed 12 times at the Goodwill Parish Hall and went on to wow audiences at the first Carifesta in Guyana in 1972. After Daniel migrated to Canada, the group changed its name to the People's Action Theatre and went on to produce several plays, including the hits Streak, The Night Box, Folk Nativity, The Ruler, P.O., Jesus Christ Superstar, and as well as radio serials including Green Gold, Winds of Change, and Secrets of La Cloche. By the end of the 1970s, some of these plays were running for about 50 performances in Dominica and other Caribbean countries. Most of the work was written and directed by Alwin, while Nightbox, though written by Alwin, was directed by Michael Bruni. PAT's success spawned other theater groups in that period, such as Aquarian Expression, who produced Quest by Clement Barber Richards and Several Mackenzie, and Mirror Mirror by Minchinton Israel. In 1976, the Old Mill Company delivered a delightful Christmas pantomime entitled Sun, Moon, and the Pretty Girl, written and directed by Ken Gardner and Paul Julo. The DJ's Grammar Club produced 3 plays, Good Morning Miss Millie, The Brothers Five, and Small Change. In those years, the Eastern Caribbean Popular Theater Organization, a regional association, was also active in promoting community theater as an avenue to social change and rural development. In Dominica, the Movement for Cultural Awareness was the lead implementer of this program, led by Gregory and Sinky Rabes, Sobers Esprit, Clement Barber Richards, Ashworth Simon, Several Mackenzie, and others. In the 1980s, when Bully joined UNESCO in Jamaica, Nigel Francis took over the artistic direction of PAT. The birth of the New Dimension Theatre in 1983, under the direction of Steve Hyacinth, saw the start of a new wave of theatre in Dominica. Over the years, the NDT has produced over 30 extremely popular plays, all written and directed by Hyacinth. Among the most popular are Your Son, My Husband, Drum Voices, Why Sweetie, and House of Shingles. Hyacinth, as playwright and director, used a winning mix of humor and serious drama to draw attention to major social issues. In the late 1990s, Alex Bruno created the Theatre Powell with a mandate to instill a sense of pride in the population as to the history and achievements of the Dominican people. As a popular radio personality and calypsonian, he possessed a natural dramatic flair which is reflected in his writing. Among his plays, Pampo and Negmawa have had the strongest impact on audiences, through their vivid portrayal of events in Dominican history, as well as socio-political issues of the time. In the 1990s, a new secondary schools drama group under the direction of Gloria Augustus took drama back into the schools with plays carrying strong social messages on issues such as HIV/AIDS, drug abuse, and crime and violence. Strongly associated with Alias Facès de la Dominique was Théâtre de la Cour, which sometimes performed in Creole and maintained close relations with theater companies in neighboring French islands. It was directed by Sonia Riviere and Curtis Clarendon and morphed into La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, led by Curtis Clarendon and Gloria Augustus. Throughout the islands, plays are sporadically performed by schools, youth groups, and church groups, usually as fundraisers for community projects. Many talented performers have been discovered through these productions. In the recent past, most of the performances were staged at the Arawak House of Culture, which featured some 500 persons. It possessed a large, deep stage, but lighting and sound were rudimentary. From those early years, it was recognized that there was not only a dire need for a well-equipped performance space, it was recognized that there was not only a dire need for that, but also for trained personnel in both the artistic and technical sides of the art form. Also, that such facilities and training be made available to the next generation as a matter of urgency if they are to recognize the importance of drama and thus continue the work of molding traditional forms with modern techniques to develop a truly intrinsic national theater, which we hope moves. Dance, we have our traditional dance forms like ballet and quadrille and heel and toe have survived due to the importance given to them by the Honorable Premier of Dominica, E.O. LeBlanc, who created, along with Mrs. Cordero, the National Day Cultural Celebrations, which showcase the winners of the various traditional art forms. Because of this, they all survive today. And in the mid-60s, a group from Dominica attended the 1965 Commonwealth Arts Festival in Britain. These included members of the Kyrie and Dominica dance troupes, as well as established drummers. It is to be noted that one of the pioneers of creative dance in Dominica was the late Mabel Sissy Cordero, who experimented with various Dominican and Caribbean dance steps. Creative dance in the early stages were performed by groups such as Brother Estrada's dance group, individuals such as Ruthie Richards and Mark Matthews, and in the early 1970s saw the birth of the Waitikubuli Dance Theater Company, as well as Kai Kari Dance Troupe led by Clayton Douglas, the Rabiatu Dance Group led by Franklin Edwards, Balize led by Dermot Drocktrove, and Rose Kane's group, La Belle Théâtre. Claudia Joseph's group was the Dong Dong Dancers followed. A children's group performance art workshop led by Jacinta David and one by Lucia Lander, Pashiwork by Elnara Emmanuel and Gabriel Didier, and Sankofa by Velda Wade, among others, followed. Ballet was taught at the Old Mill sometime in the early 20s. Since the teacher's departure from Dominica, no one has replaced her. Okay? It is to be noted that the Waitikubuli Dance Theater Company is the only major group that has been able to weather the storm. It has persevered under its founder, Raymond Lawrence, to celebrate its 55th anniversary, which was held last month. A spectacular showcase which brought in packed audiences. The music scene. We have the folk songs of Dominica, which has to take important space in our history. In 1961, a gentleman called Alan Lomas was an ethnomusicologist. He came to Dominica and with the cooperation of E.O. LeBlanc recorded some 12 songs of Dominica. 20 years later, Alan Gamble's book entitled Chate Dominicaine, Folk Songs of Dominica, was published by the Dominica Institute, dedicated to Mabel Sissy Cordero and Lennox Honeychurch, and it covers a gamut of songs in several categories, including Chate Mass and other social songs. Normally, this was sung by a chatouel, with the crowd answering back in chorus, work songs, children's songs and games, songs in storytelling, and dance tunes, serenals, and parish fete songs. My time is up. Okay. Well, I only did 2 pages. Okay? The rest deals with the bands of Dominica from the 1940s to the present, the history of Pan, which deals the history of Pan beginning in 1930 and all the pans that were gone, the visual arts, the early painters up to the new group, the literary arts, art and craft associations, the audiovisual association, school arts competition, and Dominica's new unique architecture. I just want 1 minute to do Dominica's unique architecture because I'm making a political statement. Okay? Our built heritage is also of great importance. That is what gives the city of Roseau its unique charm. SHAPE, the Society for Historical Architectural Preservation and Enhancements, is still operational, with Marika Honeychurch now at the helm as president. They continue to express their distress as the charm of the city is being destroyed, with traditional buildings being bulldozed and replaced by concrete monstrosities, and the ones owned by government being allowed to go to rack and ruin so that their destruction can be legitimized. These important buildings include the old Roseau Public Library on Victoria Street, the Barracan building in Roseau, the only one of its kind in this region, and the building which formerly housed the planning division on Charles Avenue, as it is presently being used as a storage facility by the Chinese company building the Goodwill Secondary School. It is extremely heartbreaking to watch their slow deterioration, especially as they can be restored with the assistance from Cuban artisans who restored the Winsky building, now the Red House. A plea has been made to the Honorable Prime Minister for their restoration. We await his response on this matter. And by the way, Kimon will post it online so you all can read it. Okay.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Well, I think I was correct when I said this one is, we would like this one to be just be the first of a series of discussions, because as you can see, Anika could have just taken the night on her own, and I'm sure everybody would just remain there. We could just tell Anita to continue and tell fellas and continue tomorrow. Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Bully. I think we had a little bit of a comprehensive, of a small touch of what you were delivering. At this time, let me introduce Mr. Ian Jackson. I have already introduced him in terms of his bio, and his presentation tonight is Arts as an Educational Tool and Income Earner. Ian Jacko Jackson.
Okay, good night, everyone. I have to run very quickly because writing for the arts for 37 years of my life and teaching for 25, you really cannot put it in a 15 minutes. It's impossible, but I will just ramble on quickly, so please bear with me. Okay, arts and culture as an educational tool and income earner, that's my focus. Arts and culture is closely intertwined as they both play significant roles in shaping society and reflecting our values and beliefs as a community or civilization. While arts refers to the expression of human creativity and imagination through various mediums such as painting, sculpture, music, literature and dance, and we tend to always focus on music when we're talking about arts and so on, but it's much more than that. Of course, dance culture encompasses shared customs, traditions, language, or social behavior of a particular group, as in our case, Dominicans. Because culture itself is dynamic, it changes with time and generation and is not stagnant, those certain fundamentals must and should be maintained. Art, which is a reflection of our culture, can either be negative or positive, as it's incumbent on the educator, as myself, to make a distinction as what is acceptable, maintained, or promoted. For instance, one of the values we hold close as Dominicans from a very long time is our Christian principles and beliefs. Hence, whatever we promote must not contradict those values just because it supposedly brings in income or that is what is trending. In fact, culture is really not about trending. Culture is about being uniquely different. Hence, our ballet and quadrille became our interpretation by our forefathers of what existed when they were brought from Africa. Therefore, we merged our drums or lavwe or steps and mimic this, and this form an integral part of our culture. Church ceremonies were done in Latin and entertain call and response as the African griot traditions did, as before calypsos and court. The Lord be with you. Call and response, right. Missy quick. Mommy, mommy, I want to go. Right, so you get the idea. It's all African, it's all part of our culture. And if we lose those things, then obviously we're losing something Dominican, something African. The conch shell, which was used by our fishermen to inform communities that fish was available, became an instrumental part of our bouillon music, the way we dress, talk, and our mannerisms. It's cultural to greet elders and not to talk back. A village used to raise a child, and we have lost this. Right now, your conversation in tongue, and guys just pass in between you to say good morning or afternoon. This is not something that is part of our culture or bringing over time. For example, all Dominicans, when we speak, we say, why not doing that? No. Huh? We must say no. It's something about Dominican. If you go anywhere and you listen to somebody talking, you're not sure where they're from, and when you say them say no, that's a Dominican. Or we, yeah, yes we, that's a Dominican. Okay? So basically that's what it is. Or cuisine, or tortoise, lamourie, or codfish, all these are traditions emanating from our culture. Therefore, it is not surprising that we call our music bouillon. A local dish became the focus of our modern day music as an integral part of our culture. Can you imagine the accordion or the boom boom disappearing from our music, or the unique rhythm of the strum of cadasses no more? How many of us realize that Dominican calypso is quite different from Trinidad or St. Lucia in terms of the rhythmic structure? It's different. And persons like Ulston as a musician would know that. How many of us realize that our calypso rhythm and so forth is different from those places? If we find the aforementioned good and uplifting and unique, and it defines us as a people, then we should teach it at the education system. I had an experience at SMA some years ago in September, opening a school, when basically the students were buying ties and all kind of different things and paying for the school fees and so on. And I saw a crowd of students with their hand over a lady stretching across to the receptionist to buy stuff and so on. When I came, I found that was strange. And I saw a lady sitting there. I said, gentlemen, move away from there. Do you know who's sitting there? They said, no, I just see a lady sitting there. It was Ophelia. None of the students knew it was Ophelia. They did not have to educate them right away to tell them who is Ophelia, and I had to sing around 5 songs. When I reached Idom, they say, oh, that's sing Idom, Nick. We must educate our people, we must educate our young people about our culture. Brazilians once boasted that they were very good at their football and dribbling skills, and into the football season right now because of their samba music. Something about the samba music made them difficult to beat because they know to move on the ball. It's something about the cultural expression in their music. Basketballers have a particular way they bounce the ball and so on. It's different from other persons, and as a result of that, it all forms part of the culture. It is the same influence that influences the people, as Ginnery says, that her own identity was shaped by her diverse cultural influences in Dominica. Okay? When you hear things like Chubby Song talking about Coco Sec, or Ophelia, what does Ophelia mean by Machiko Antilles? Or when Gordon Nelson sings Motoa by Puaye or Treo, who or what does the statue of the cenotaph represent? Who is this gentleman? Who is this Negma War? Who is Jacko? Who is he? Do our children know about those things? There are young people who have never been exposed to an Alwin's Bully night box. And for 10 years, almost a decade now, we have not had an equipped theater hall to see our society mirrored on stage in a Steve Hyacinth or Dr. Leonard Lawson Church production or Lacuze Art production, because we have basically adopted a new culture in Dominica, and that culture is Siwo. The traditions of nine night, wake, and the associated reverence and ceremonies for our dead and their families supposed to be a sad, reflective occasion. It's now a happy hour. This is our culture now. That's the culture we're adopting. The older folks in the 60s and 70s would remember the cereal Green Gold and how it educated many farmers and families of the challenges faced by the banana industry with leaf spot, something ministers of government could never do. And our culture through our plays and drama actually taught persons those things and drove the message home to our people. Okay, Dr. Henry Church, in his work, when he wrote the Dominica short story, actually people like me, I was going to the grammar school at the time, and every morning it was my diet. We had to listen. Today, those messages are reduced to Kalinago word for the day. No one can hold a conversation in the Kalinago language. It's serious. Soon, next 10 years, we'll have Patswa word for the day. That's where we are heading. And so we must take our culture very seriously. And I'm just paraphrasing because I want to move quickly before this red flag is waved. Creative sector. I'm supposed to also deal with income. And if you look at slide 1, Mr. Operator, in Jamaica, yes, in Jamaica we have some 60% of jobs in Jamaica are involved in the creative economy. And we always like to look at best practices. And I chose Jamaica as one of the best practices in the Caribbean of how they use their music and their arts to the benefit of the people. Nearly 40% of the creatives are surveyed earn 70 to 100% of their income from creative work. This is not a side hustle as in Dominica. Okay? Dominica sees it as a side hustle. As a matter of fact, Dominicans see musicians work as guys that just have nothing to do and they'll play a little music now and then. And they are used for political expediency. You know, so when they have any of the parties have a function, let's get Triple K and the crowds will come. After that, what about Triple K? But let's get them to come and the crowds will be there. And that is basically how we have been using culture as a staged event as opposed to something that can bring an income and somebody can chase as a career. Okay? Slide 2 would show you that the sector has 9 front doors. The survey covers music, film, visual and performing arts, literature, publishing, cultural heritage, fashion, as Mrs. Bully said, design, advertising, digital creativity, technology. So it's a whole wide range. Our library in Dominica has been contracted to a state of insignificance. So our literature is almost lost to the dustbins of times. The writings of Edward Scobie, Lawrence, Phyllis Shand, Alfred Leox, Honeychurch, Giftus John, Dr. Irvin Andrew, Gabriel Christian, Harold Thomas, and in recent times, my good friend here, Clement Barbara Richards, and of course, Ian Jackson. It's lost. They are not part of the school's curriculum. Neither have they been shared or documented digitally. What about our designers, sun-style garment, moral manufacturing? How many women today can crochet or stitch? We just buy another one. There's an art in doing those things. And the older people in the audience will tell you there's an art. I can see Miss Shirley there's looking at me and saying, yes, there's an art in doing those things. And these things we have to maintain. Okay? So it's very important. We should provide some incentives. For instance, I have said that for bands and hotels and organizations who use bands for their entertainment right now in Dominica. And that just happened a few years ago, Because I remember in my time in playing with Phase 5, with the Alan John Baptist Brothers and so on, we played at various hotels. I played 8 years in a stretch at Fortune Hotel every Friday because they wanted to entertain the guests. Today, hi-fis entertain the guests. They don't want to pay any musician at all. That's too much money for musicians to pay them to be part of that activity. And so that's one way you could get tax incentives, and so on, tax rebates and so on. That's something that the government could look at and implement. The central bank governor of Barbados said, Dr. Kevin Greenridge, he said sometime last year in August, he called for urgent action to transform the Caribbean creative industries from an economic afterthought into a call group engine warning that the region remains rich in culture, but not yet rich from culture. A very powerful statement. We are rich in culture, but not yet rich from culture. While the orange economy, which we call culture, contributes to 4.3 trillion annually worldwide and supports nearly 50 million jobs, the Caribbean contributes less than 2% of global creative goods. Culture is not charity, he says. It is an economic sector that one deserves, that deserves deliberate investment. When ECHO, that's the Eastern Caribbean Collective Rights Organization, which is based in St. Lucia, they collect, recently they collected last year, last set of review, their reviews is that they earned $1.3 million. And out of that $1.3 million, St. Lucia received 44%. You mean St. Lucia is so much greater than Dominica in terms of musical production and so on? 44% out of the 52% they had to pay out. The rest of the 5 Windward Islands or OECS countries, including Dominica, only got 8%. So that should tell us something, that we can earn, but we have to put our things in order. Many organizations in Dominican do not pay royalty fees. State-owned and private sector did not pay royalties. They use your music like joke. They're bus drivers, radio stations, they use your music. We want to collect the money for the persons playing the music. There's nothing being done. In Dominica, it's less charity. Are you startled by the fact that musicians who are employed annually during the cruise ship season can take 3 months to 1 year to get paid? I'm one of those. I've been paid this year, and I played this year and paid a year after, And I'm just being candid about it. That's what's existing. What kind of industry can we have? How are we taking the arts, How we look at the arts and so on. Do you know that musicians are asked to play for free and people like to meet you? Jackson or guys, Triple K, or whatever it is, WCK, Signal Band, we have a situation, you want to have a free jam, to raise funds for somebody. And that free jams, you find that the cooks get paid, the venue get paid, the organizers get paid, the musician gets nothing because he's supposed to do it for charity. Okay, and that's what's basically happening. For us in Dominica, it's a side hustle. And of course, my time's up. Oh, I thought somebody said. There is no real music union in Dominica to represent the interests of artists, and we as artists also are to be blamed. I tried, even when Jeff was alive, I was with him trying to get a little union going, and we need to get a union going so that we can represent those interests. Do you know at the last anniversary performance, he might not say it, of Whitey Kubuli, 40 performers were cramped for space, utilizing SMB classrooms to store food and use as change room, poor lighting, seating arrangement. Another production is being held this week again. The same thing by Cicero. 1 minute. And maybe it's good to say 1 minute, but plenty of things coming there, Barbados Central Bank governor highlights 3 critical problems we have. Investment gaps, infrastructure deficits, that we must spend money, and also we know about the hour cost of culture. As you know, we had a committee, it came on the news, that have been trying to get the Prime Minister to do something about the hour cost of culture, which really and truly is just sad. Institutional weaknesses, modern copyright frameworks need to be improved. But I still think, as I leave, that there's still some hope for music. Though many, including myself, have difficulty with the image and the slackness bouillon music have created for itself in recent times, compared to what WCK Serenade and RSB in the era that I operated in stood for. I once again see hope in the quality of Shelley and Signal Band, Liquor Boy, Trilogy, Colton T, as the music is taking the region by storm. I have a problem that we don't have our gospel existing, being a Christian myself. We don't have the Jerry Loys of today. We don't have the Corinne Duras. We don't have the Vessels of Honor. We don't have the Tribute of Praise. Where are they? Okay? Still, it's not all gloom and doom. As our World Creole Music Festival and Jazz Festival are blossoming, and the government and the DFC must be applauded and given some credit for that. Nonetheless, is the other art forms I'm mainly concerned about. The painting, the sculpture, the drama, the literature. There's no front line, there's no library, etc., etc. They seem most at risk. Just last year, the Minister of Education Jamaica, quickly, said, met with Alison Hines of Jamaica, and stated that they're going to put, and they have started putting studios, musical studios in all secondary schools in Jamaica are going to be equipped with studios to produce music because they recognize how important it is. That's in streaming contrast with what exists basically in Dominica. And so I'm asking, please, that we as people, as we go on, take some serious interest in our arts. Finally, we must find ways to employ artists in related employments via recording studios, song engineering, music publishing, arts and craft market, erection of monuments by sculptures. Too many names in Roseau, named by fellas I don't even know. We create a Windsor Park, we create a Windsor Stadium, and we still have to put it back, Windsor Park Stadium. I've never seen a park stadium in my life. Erection of monuments, buy up sculptures in galleries, painters, theater halls to showcase their work, music education in schools, enforcement of copyright legislation, all will go a long way in achieving this vision. Because really, all art and culture is asking for a dance, Dominica. Will you? Give me a dance, man. Give me a dance. Give me a dance. Thank you very much.
Yes, as you realize that that's another night by its own. So we really need some discussion on the arts. And I hope tonight is just the beginning. Some people are not too enthused when they say, let us come and talk, because this is another talk show. But if we do not talk, we listen to people talking all the time, but we do not want to talk among ourselves. At this stage, let me introduce this young voice to the podium, Dylan Regis, and he's going to give a youth perspective. Because as we realize there, let me see how many young people in there? Look at the young. Look at the young. So I am very much pleased to have an under 20 Gen Z as part of the audience, because we have to start listening to them. We really have to start listening to them, because we have been talking a lot and we have been saying so many things and trying to think, but we try not to know what they're thinking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proudly presenting to you Dylan Regis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Bring it down a little bit. Very good. Good evening to all. Before we start, I recently, 2 days ago, I have received braces, as well as I was not born in Dominica, so my speech may sound a little strange sometimes. Please forgive me, and I hope it doesn't take away too much. But I want to thank the Alwin Bully Foundation. Thank you, Mr. Mackenzie, for reaching out and allowing a young man like me to be at a place like this and having the opportunity to speak, speak for the youth. It's honestly an honor and a privilege. Yes, continuing, also forgive me, I am a little nervous, but continuing, I'm going to just speak a little bit about myself, introduce myself once again, to let you know what goes through the mind, or what I've been through, of a young man passionate about the culture of Dominica. I was listening to Mr. Jackson speak, and I started to question myself, do I really know what the Negmao represents, and it's serious. It's serious. Education about the culture, it has to be taken more serious. So I'll just be reading a little bit about myself. The arts and culture is continue to give me a gateway to explore my likes and dislikes. I began in SMA when Mr. Ian Jackson, my teacher at the time, asked me if I like to do drama, seeing as I'm a dramatic guy. I said, seems fair enough to me. So I joined. And in the first year, we participated in the school's arts festival, where I also heard that this year didn't have a school's arts festival. Is that true? It's true. 2 years. Oh, it's every 2 years. Okay. So it had last year. Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, I said, seems fair enough to me. Where Mr. Jackson, so we participated in the school's arts festival, where Mr. Jackson was awarded with the Best Director's Award. and I myself with the Best Actor award. And I continued to earn a 98 over 100 in my theater art CXC practicals. And last year, just after graduating, I participated in the play Streak, put together by the Alwin Bully Foundation and La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Inc. So not only theater, but I have taken interest in playing music. Mr. Jackson actually introduced me to playing the bass guitar. I owe this man about half of my, my any awards I get, I might just send a copy frame in the mail. So, and yes, I've taken interest in music, singing, dancing, and even stage management and sound engineering. And I am an avid enjoyer in musical productions, such as the one we passed, Umoja, and coming up is Cicero Singers, the plays, and the arts. This year, I will be playing a role in the play, I can say the name, Fly on the Wall, which is being directed by La Cour des Arts de la Dominique Inc. And we'll be participating with the YT Kubili Dance Company to try and learn the cultural dances. Finally, once again, I will be stepping in. I know a little heel and toe. I can do something like ballet. Not much. Anyway, let me continue. I say that to say, had it not been for the introduction of arts and culture in a meaningful way in my life, a way which I immediately could see the benefits, I would not have known the gifts that God has given me today, nor would have recognized my own potential. So this is what the arts and culture has done for me as a young man currently in Dominica. And there's other things which I didn't name, but it's important. It's very important to have a discussion like this here tonight, so that the people who are in charge and the adults and the persons who have the ability to teach and mentor and instruct younger persons to the culture, they can be guided along to do so. They can be persuaded. They can take up initiative, because there is something to be earned. Now, I have a little presentation here tonight. Oh, boy, you good, man. Okay. All right. Well, can we go to the second slide, please? So, yes, why young people are not interested in the... Can I take this mic off? I'm a very theatric guy, as you can see. So why young people are not interested in the culture? The misconception. Now, I am an avid believer that to call just label young people as uninterested in something isn't fair to them. It's not fair to them. I believe that rather calling them uninterested and lazy and this, that, and the third, that we should be waiting. They are waiting for culture to be presented to them in a way which resonates. I was speaking to someone the other day, and I told them why I see Miss Teen Dominica, Mass Jamboree, all these pageants with girls and women. And I'm like, it's wonderful, but where is it for the men, Like, well, come on, like, if I had to do it, I wouldn't mind doing it. So I asked him, and he says to me, the stereotype, the stigma, no young man is gonna want to be in that. I said, well, that's not fair. I know a lot of theatric guys that are going to SMA right now, going to grammar school, and if it had a Mr. Teen Dominica, I'm sure they would be a part of it. If they seen there was something to gain, they would be a part of it. And of course, society has a role to play as well. But we can't just say that, because if a man go and do it, he's a Marco. Can I say that? Can I say that? All right. Thank you. I'm sorry. My parents are listening, it's okay. Yeah, so we can't just say we can't just say that because of this that we're gonna label the young men as this. But the country has to progress, and we can't be limited by narrow mindsets of people. We have to progress. Moving forward. Right. I say this to say, the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. Now, if you train young people from school, primary school, And there would be a nice facility that was the Arawak House of Culture used to be that facility back in the day. But if you had a facility where you can train young people about the culture, educate them on the culture, I would love to know more about the culture and the Kali Nago culture as well. A lot of young people don't know. So it is true that this generation of young people are among the most distracted in the past decade, maybe in forever. Things like technology, phones, and that are easily accessible. And there is a lack of reading, lack of discipline. And now we have AI, so you don't even have to read your school notes again. You can just put that in AI and get a decent enough response. And admittingly, it is affecting the work ethic of the minds of young people today, and it is destroying their minds. However, young people are just products of their environment. And as older persons and persons responsible, we have to be able to adjust with the times. And as the Owen Bully Foundation is doing here tonight, we have to use the young people who are willing to capture their ideas and advance through the times. Now, as I said, I do not like to consider young people unwilling, but we all have to start from somewhere. And we have to develop a culture of compassion for young people, that when they mess up the first time, you don't just speak hard to them. You don't just tell them, boy, you the same thing every time. Have patience with them, relax, tend to understand that the first time they're doing it. And especially in the culture, in the arts, a lot of young people, I'm sure, would be interested, but they just need the platform so that they can proceed. Next slide, please. So rather than that, I would like for us to ask the questions: how are we giving our culture a basic value to young people? For example, how is it being presented to the youth? How is the culture of Dominica? I did theater arts CXC, and I didn't learn much, if anything, about the culture of Dominica. So it's clear CXC is not doing it, so we have to do it as persons in Dominica. There has to be something to teach. I heard somebody say basket weaving, learning about basket weaving, the Kali Nago culture, and these different things. So, next question: is there provisions for those who are attempting to build the cultural industry without persons like Mr. Jackson, who is seeing the potential in youth, and he was trying in SMA? He was trying. I think we started the theater arts group after 10 years. A decade, 2 decades, started back with the theater arts group in SMA. So what provisions are being made for persons like him to be able to carry on with the youth and move forward and push the culture as well? And then, is there money to be earned, and will they travel? This is the ultimate. This is what young people are looking for today. Yeah, man. This is what young people are looking for. I have a friend who also goes to UE, and he's not really doing much, but he's just concerned about making money. He don't know what he wants to do, but he want to make money. I said, but come on, we have to have bigger aspirations than that, man. Money must come. And one thing I like to tell young people is that if you're passionate about what you do, and if you treat it with earnest and excellency, you must make money from it. And that is why I commend persons like Mr. Jackson speaking about the music industry, because I'm also a musician. I play bass guitar, I play drums, and I play bass guitar and I play drums, and I see people overseas and they're making tons of money. They're going on the big stages, and even in Dominica, Mr. Jackson himself. I know I mentioned it a lot. I'm sorry, sir. But he was going on cruise ships and exploring the world, and that can be done in Dominica, but we just have to take it more serious. How are they going to earn money? How are they going to travel? I'm sorry if I'm speaking fast. Mrs. Bully mentioned about how young people, there used to be a Carafesta, right? So young people used to go out and travel for theater and arts and plays. I don't see much of that happening now. So that is what we have to invest in. And then lastly, is there adequate resources available for modern cultural events? And then I have highlighted which are broadcasted worldwide. And it's true, because today in Dominica, especially Dominica, I just seen something. Dominica, the #1 visited island in the Caribbean and 9th in the world. That means people are looking at us. People are looking at the young people, and for us to be able to have these type, when we're having plays such as the one Umoja did, I think it was a wonderful production. I think it was wonderful. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And you know, every time I go to a production, these are the thoughts I'm having. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And that needs to be produced on a scale which we can present it to the whole world, not just Dominica anymore. It's not just for one village. It's not just for one island, one nation, but it's for international. Moving on, if you can. Now, the effects on youth due to the lack of value of art and culture. Now, all right, okay, continuing. #1, lack of creativity. And when there is a lack of you can also proceed again. Lack of creativity, youth become narrow-minded and unwilling to try new things. You know, we say a lot. I heard they say at the college graduation today, make sure you have friends that when you present an idea to them, they either help you to grow it, they give you constructive criticism, but they don't just tell you why it can't be like that. They give you all the list of reasons on, oh yeah, you can do it, but, and then they tell you, but you need to look for people who are going to grow your ideas and help you to advance. So when young people don't have that culture and the creativity to say to themselves, well, anything is possible. For me, I thank God for my father who is sitting right there. And my mother as well. They always gave me a mind that I can do anything. So right now, I think I can do anything. But, so I say that to say, when young people don't have that creativity, and arts allow young people that space. If I wasn't doing plays, I like to speak in public. So if I wasn't doing public speaking, or if I wasn't doing the culture, or if I wasn't doing, I wouldn't know that anything is possible to me. I wouldn't know that I can stand on a stage like here today and speak to persons young and younger and tell them about the ideas that are going through my head. Now, this creativity, when you have a culturally, you have value installed. How much time I have there now? Papa. Okay. Well, it was great. Well, all right. Then we have the creation of idle time. Okay, good. Okay, right. Okay, yeah. The idle mind is a devil. Okay, I'm not gonna take too long, yeah. But the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when we don't have these provisions for young people, such as a proper facility or persons to help educate the young people, they end up doing what? Drugs, alcohol, guns, violence, and then in bold I have finding anything wrong to do. Because that is true. The natural state of man is evil. Now let's go. Now I want to thank, we have to commend the works of our Honorable Prime Minister, Ms. Roosevelt Skerrit, and Her Excellency, Mrs. Burton, and their cabinet for recognizing this. And I seen in an article that they were making provisions for a new cultural facility to replace the Arawak House of Culture. Facilities like this, of course, will host cultural classes year-round. They can hold cultural classes year-round, dance, drama, music, poetry, these certain things. Is this true? Yeah. And that is where I will conclude here today. Of course. Thank you very much for your thank you. Oh, sorry, sir. Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
He deserves All right.
Thank you very much.
This is just a little tip of the youth that many of us have to grapple to understand exactly what is going through the minds and heads of those young people. And a lot of us try to speak for them, but it's not working. And we have to try to see how we expose and assist these young people and get them out. I do not want to delay too much with my comments. Let me introduce Mr. Raymond Lawrence, and he's going to give an overview. It's an overview, right, Raymond? Or Raymond will say what he's going to say. It's an overview of the arts and culture with all the vast experience that he has. I know with 55 years, 15 minutes in 55 years is almost an insult, but please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good evening, everybody. And let me recognize Her Excellency, the President, Mrs. Burton and Mr. Burton, and of course the staff of the UE Global Campus, including yourself, Dr. Kimon Joseph and Dr. Kazimi, the Chief Cultural Officer, Earlson, Matthew, the Chair and members of the Alwin Bully Foundation. Thanks for inviting me to speak as part of your panel. And let me just congratulate all the panelists. You all made such wonderful and significant contributions. I'll just sort of take a brief sort of general look at cultural industries, basically, and I'll be trimming and skimming. As I was sitting there, I thought I have to kind of cut this down because I know 15 minutes will be up in a short time. But anyway, cultural industries can be defined as economic activities which have developed within the cultural practices and expressions of a society, and include, among other things, music, theater, dance, art, craft, printed matter, including books, recreation and leisure, customs and practices, natural heritage, entertainment, video, film and television, and fashion of the country. Cultural industries also fall under two broad headings of tangible and intangible heritage. So the tangible heritage would include the built heritage, which comprises historic buildings, museums, artifacts, exhibitions, monuments, sacred sites, arts and crafts, books, archival material, etc., while the intangible heritage would include music, dance, theater, festivals, digital technology, other cultural events, folk history, values, and customs. Cultural industries have played a very important role in Dominica for urban and rural development and renewal. They have contributed to the economy through the years, to the generation and earning of income for cultural and artistic practitioners, and they have also contributed to the conservation of built and traditional heritage and to intellectual property branding and imaging. When we speak of building sustainable arts and culture industries, which is the topic for tonight, we must also remember that part of that sustainability is the handing down of skills and passing on of traditional knowledge so that the industry can be sustained by those who take over. So we must remember that sustainability is also about passing on knowledge about the industry itself and providing the necessary education concerning the industry so that there will be the capacity to endure, to maintain, and to support a process over time. So in other words, sustainability is also capacity building. The fact that our traditions have been sustained for so long, our Bele over hundreds of years, our Jinping music and our Kalinago culture, is because the skills were handed down to us from generation to generation. So we have to bear that side of sustainability in mind when we speak about sustaining our arts and culture. And sustainability can be described as having three core pillars: environmental sustainability, which is the practice of utilizing natural resources responsibly so that they are not depleted; social sustainability, which is creating fair and equitable communities where human health, education, and equal rights are protected; and economic sustainability, which is the one we usually refer to, which is the ability of an organization, a country, or a system to operate and remain financially viable for the long term. We must bear in mind that cultural heritage sustainability is of central importance to any country in that it has intrinsic value for national identity. We identify things Dominican, and this is what gives us our sense of being Dominican, which is often a society's fundamental reason for conserving, interpreting, and educating about its heritage. Essentially, cultural heritage tells our story. It is also a wonderful avenue for the expression of our creativity and for the development of our skills and talents, and there are many aspects of cultural heritage, as in the case of cultural industries, which generate income. And more, cultural heritage is becoming an even more important part of the tourism product which we offer to the world. Now, in general, when we look at some of our cultural industries, and all the speakers before me have mentioned some of them, the music industry, which is appearing to be growing from strength to strength. Several music bands through the years have made a name for themselves and have produced several music albums and songs. Individual professional music artists like Ophelia, Mikel Henderson, Colin XP, Colton T, among others, have also excelled and continue to build successful careers in their field. We have music technicians and producers in Dominica. Musicians can record their music right here at home. We have the World Creole Music Festival, which was introduced in 1997, which is an international music event now recognizable in the world and one of the more successful music events in the region. The WCMF, as we all know, takes place within the independence celebrations, which lasts for 6 weeks, but which was introduced in the 1960s, 1965, and Anita mentioned it, as the National Day celebrations, and then evolved into the independence celebrations. But that has been an avenue and a platform for the preservation of so many of Dominica's folk forms through the years, and have kept all these cultural forms very, very vibrant up to today. And they're the ones that support our cultural industries. A lot of times when the tourists come to Dominica or people want to create certain shows, they would call on Cultural Division, or they would even ask me to help. And so a lot of them want sometimes the traditional culture. They want the bele, they want the kalinago, they want the drumming, and then suddenly you realize, well, this is important to them and important to our culture. And had they not been there, we would have lost, and maybe if the independence celebrations had not been there, we probably would have lost a lot of our heritage by now. So you can see how important sometimes these celebrations and events are. Carnival is another cultural industry, and we know that during times like Independence, Creole Festival, Carnival, a lot of benefits go to your taxi drivers, your vendors, your hotels, guest houses, and all of. So there are spin-off effects within the cultural industries of these festivals, the village feasts as well. The economic activities of the Kalinago people for years has been basket making and weaving, among other crafts. The lauma is used in a lot of the craft that they do, and it's very much in demand. The products of Kalinago people are very much in demand, as we all know, by both locals and visitors, and there are countless other artisans in Dominica who also produce bags and placemats and those kinds of things. There are heritage sites as well that are part of cultural industry. So it's not just the performing arts. When you look at the Kalinago Barana Ote, the Fort Shirley, all these are popular heritage sites that people visit and earn income, and they are attractions to Dominica. In the area of theatrical performances, we still do shows, limited as they are, every year, including plays, choral presentations. We just had Waita Kabuli, we have Cicero Singers, we had Alwin Bully Foundation doing plays recently. The lack of a proper theater, and some of the other speakers alluded to that, has presented a major challenge for the proper staging of these events, and these types of events also depend on private sector sponsorship to assist with meeting some of the costs involved. There was a time when the film industry, especially in Dominica, was starting to show some real promise and growth. All of you will remember the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean, which was able to employ a significant amount of Dominicans as actors, bus drivers, caterers, and which occupied many hotel rooms for a significant period of time. In the area of art, we have several fine artists, and I know the Waitakobuli Artists Association trying their best to promote the arts. In the area of books and book publishing, there have been recent publications which have been launched, and some of the writers who have launched recently include Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, Clement Baba Richards, Roy Sanford, Ian Jackson. And some of these authors have been using Amazon as a vehicle for online sales, in addition to promoting the hard copy sales at bookstores such as Jay's. Comité Études Creole has published a book called Anuapuan Creole, which is being sold both on Amazon and locally at Jay's. And Papillon Press recently released some books as well. In addition to books being promoted online, there are many creatives who have been using online platforms to promote and sell their products, such as Leandra Lander and her Lovely Things, Jody Dublin Dangleben and her hair products, Akim Ismail and his catering services, and Ngaska, a company selling African clothing and accessories. And these are just to name a few. I'm sure you all know quite a few other people who are now beginning to use online opportunities. So that's another whole new dimension or a new world of possibilities, really, for cultural industries in Dominica using digital technology. And so there's a lot of potential for the industry on these online platforms. And while we're talking about online potential, there's also the advent of AI. Some folks mentioned it. Artificial intelligence is something we have to now face up to, which has its strengths and weaknesses, or positives and negatives. On the positive side, AI provides us with many benefits of fast-tracking scripts and accessing information relevant to the work that we are carrying out in a very speedy manner. It also creates music and songs, among other things. So it's a tool that can be used for good, but we have to use it responsibly. On the negative side, however, we have to be careful that we do not allow AI to do everything for us, because we can stunt and stifle our own creativity and authenticity in that we become complacent and we allow AI to do the work for us. And then there's a possibility that AI can also displace jobs of creative writers and people looking for jobs, especially in the writing and songwriting sectors. So there probably needs to be some kind of regulation, maybe, introduced to give a certain level of control when it comes to the use of AI. And then we also need training and workshops to teach the population and the creative industry about the methods in using AI and also online possibilities and also what are the possible pitfalls we should be looking out for in the use of that particular technology. But at this point, I just want to put forward some of the challenges, opportunities, and strategies as I wrap up very quickly. Some of the challenges, creating a greater awareness and appreciation in all sectors with regards to the value and importance of culture, cultural heritage, and cultural industry. Sometimes I think we don't give enough priority or value or attention to matters of culture in Dominica. There's the challenge of too little financing on the part of both government and private sector for cultural industry products. Artists and organizers of events are becoming more and more aware that gate receipts alone are not covering the costs of staging various events or producing artistic works, so they have to depend on sponsorships. There's a challenge of a lack of trained and skilled personnel in the field of cultural industry. There's a challenge of community involvement. Depending on what the project is, the community in which it is being implemented should feel a sense of identity with the project, a sense of ownership of the project in order to get the fullest participation of the community. And there's a challenge of fragmentation of authority, whereby various aspects of cultural industry, including heritage or cultural tourism, are managed by different institutions and organizations, which is all well and good, but then we have to find a way to get all of these institutions and organizations to work more closely together for the benefit of all the cultural industry. And of course, there's the constant challenge of standards and the goal to always try to deliver products of excellence. Mechanisms or strategies will have to be employed whereby we can try to ensure that cultural products are at the best standards possible. Some of the opportunities we have is educating our people, and I know Ian mentioned it about our history or heritage sites, our cultural heritage, developing skills and talents of our people. All of that is part of education in culture, heritage, creativity, cultural industry, including AI that I mentioned, and online opportunities to be able to reap greater economic benefits from cultural industries. It's an opportunity to preserve and enhance our heritage sites, because we're realizing that more and more when tourists come, these are the places that they're attracted to. They want to go to, apart from the natural heritage that we have, they want to go to the built heritage, the Fort Chili's, the Kalinago, and of course the traditional culture that I mentioned. So we have to be able to create opportunities to create greater economic benefits from the cultural industries. And it's an opportunity now to preserve and enhance our sites, our cultural expressions in Dominica in all its forms. And it's an opportunity to build greater awareness about intellectual property rights. People need to know now about copyright and what they're entitled to if they create works, and create more community involvement in community projects. And some of the strategies, we need to encourage greater investment in arts and culture, encourage greater interest and involvement in cultural industry. Our plan should involve consultation, discussion, like this one, for instance, sharing and engaging the communities. Our cultural industry should showcase our way of life, provide opportunities for capacity building, which I mentioned earlier, and the training delivered should assist with improving the quality and standards of cultural products being created. Cultural initiatives will have to be supported by a people with positive attitudes, people who want to build and not destroy, people who have a good attitude towards each other and towards visitors, and people who want to present the best version of ourselves as Dominicans to the world. It means that the content of our products, music and otherwise, will have an impact on our cultural industry, whether it is negative or positive. And we are the ones, as a Dominican people, who will have to ensure that the impact we have on the industry and on the world is a positive and not a negative one. And that whatever we contribute to the cultural development should always try to be positive, uplifting, and inspiring. While we strive for success, we must guard against sacrificing the purpose, meaning, and essence of who we are as a people for glitz, glamour, and financial gain. We should constantly be guided by our own goals and principles of trying to take the creative artistic process a step higher in the context, orientation, and backdrop of our heritage. In that way, we will be contributing to the process of positive and meaningful cultural development in Dominica. In closing, I wish to say that we should take all the necessary steps to maximize and realize the potential of our cultural industries, and we should do it in a way that promotes the best in us as a people and as a nation. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Raymond. I want to give you, the audience, the opportunity to interact. We want you to keep your comments short so that as many persons as possible could contribute for the next few minutes that we have. So Dr. Joseph has a microphone, so let's go straight into it. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment at this time? This is youth, right?
So,
That's
yes.
a young person, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
25. Yeah. For those that don't know me, I am a visual artist. My name is Janae Bell, and I think everybody had really great things to say tonight. One of the most important things that stood out to me from the young man was that not children, but young people want to make money and they want to travel, but they need to know that it's possible, and it is. For visual artists, it's possible to have artist residencies. That's a thing where people can be taken to another space, connect with other artists, and then get paid for that experience. But how would you know about that unless you're told about it? Another point I wanted to bring up was that if let's say I asked a Dominican name an artist, a random artist, I'm pretty sure that 90% of them would say Picasso and not Etienne or Bully. But these are names that need to be spoken about from a primary school level. Like, beyond the work that they did, but the practices that they had and the techniques that they did, because a lot of them created their own techniques. And when I went to school in convent. When I learned art there, we followed more colonial techniques, but we didn't really consider what techniques were created locally. I feel like if we have to bring art into that space, it needs to be localized in order for it to be appreciated, because it's not enough for it to be introduced, they need to be fully immersed in it. For example, with the basket weaving, we could teach that as a technique and then use it in a way to innovate other things, but encourage them to expand and grow and develop the culture. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? The young lady on the corner. No, this young lady. Oh. Okay. Just introduce yourself, please. And
my name is Vincent Bellot. I'm a youth and community worker here in Dominica. I've been here for the last 21 years. Okay. I would like to ask, the question is directed at Mrs. Anita Bully. Is anyone writing, there's three questions. Is anyone writing a play about his life at all?
Somebody has approached me from overseas, it's a Dominican overseas, that we need to do a documentary on his life. I am in the process of doing a book, a tabletop book on him. Looking at his early years, what influenced him, his years at school, his college years, his works at theater, his work in UNESCO. So dealing with the Dominican leg, the Barbados leg, and the Jamaican leg, and coming back home. So I've done about 3 sections already, and I have a stack this high of his drawings, because he was also he was an artist and designed costumes and floats for people and all kind of things. So I have a stack this high of costumes and bands and whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, I have had a secretary for over a year just typing his stuff because we have original handwritten plays as well as stenciled copies. Because remember, in those days, there was no photocopy machine, okay? You had to run a stencil, so that had to be typed on stencil, run off. So I have already given the documentation center about 8 boxes of his collections. He has a beautiful West Indian collection of literature. I gave it to them. I just want to make sure it's properly stored, otherwise I'll take it away and send it to Caville in Barbados, because they're very important. They're not in print anymore, okay? So I need to, so there is talk about the book as well as the film. So it's just a matter of trying to stop trying to extend myself and start telling people no and just concentrate on those things.
Yeah, I have another question for you as well. What does the foundation see as the catalyst to Alwin's artwork, in terms of showcasing? I know, I don't want to give too much cat out of the bag, but I know you were working on some private partnership where you could display some of his work. But would you consider some sort of regional partnership where you could actually gain more funds by sharing some of his paintings and his artwork? Because a lot of people would be interested in seeing that. We see a lot of exhibitions in Europe, like at the Rembrandt in Holland or in Paris. We see a lot of those exhibitions from other countries displaying their artworks by their local artists, and they're getting recognition. Why don't we as Dominicans do that with people like Alwin and Mr. Etienne and those artists, try to collaborate together and maybe work on something, maybe just locally first of all, and then maybe regionally in order to gain more access to showcasing their work?
When the Baden Gallery opened at Fortier, okay, it was dedicated to him, and it was opened with an exhibition of his collection. Now, his collection includes not only paintings of his, because most of his paintings, you just give them away, and that kind of thing. But we had a beautiful Caribbean collection, and so we did an exhibition of his work as well as his Caribbean collection at the Fortune Hotel. Taking them overseas, a lot of the times when our paintings go overseas, Earl was there to physically take them with him. So he would pack them, containerize them if they had to be put into a container, take them, and had the responsibility of mounting them and taking it down. If you are sending these stuff overseas, there has to be a system in place. You have to work with a gallery who knows the cost of those things and willing to pay to get it shipped to them, handled, insured, and bring back to Dominica. Because when I gave it to Fort Young, I asked them for insurance because I said these paintings are only insured for being in my house. Okay, once they leave the house, the insurance company will not cover them. And so they had to, eventually, because it was Fort Young, we agreed, they said they will have a thing in their insurance packages for those kinds of things. I don't think they fully worked it out, okay? But there's a lot of stuff that goes into shipping paintings.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shima Roll. I am born on the stage, pretty much, but a daughter of Dominica. A lot of you may know my mother already, Miss Talifa Charles. So basically, Dominican culture has been in my DNA. Pretty much where I got my name as well. The play Shima Letan inspired them to name me Shima. So it has been something that's been very important to me. I spent some time in the States, as you can tell. And my entire life has been in art in some way. Choir, drawing, all of the things. I went to an art school, plays, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that I see is missing is a connection between us and the diaspora,
because of the mass marketing campaign that was put on us by the Western powers, we lost a lot of our greats. Not lost as far as they're not here with us alive, but they're no longer in Dominica to continue on their work. So, along with what the young gentleman said, you know, it's similar to parents beating their children. Why are you beating your child for something that you yourself did not teach them? They don't know, they don't come into the world knowing these things. So my question or comment or whatever, wrapping it up, is how do we intend to connect with the diaspora those who have that knowledge, those who are still passionate, those who come home and want to teach a workshop, put on a play. Someone like me who has lived my life in the arts, but coming back home, seeing Dominica as this busy, buzzing place of plays and art and this and fashion and, you know, Waitukubuli Dance Theater and ballet and everybody's doing something and the country is just woo, and then you come back and it's just dead. You know, what are our plans to inject life back into that and reconnect with those who are still here?
Mr. Jackson, for you.
Yeah, education. Thanks for your question, and that's what I'm trying to hint. And it has to be a mass movement of persons who are interested. And this panel here, except for Dylan has just arrived, but we are going, and we realize that we have spoken about it already along those lines. Dominica in the 70s, for the older people who knew Dominica in the 70s and 80s, I mean, it was buzzing with activities and drama and arts and poetry, Kubuli, writers and all kind of stuff was happening in Dominica. Almost every other month we had a play in Dominica. It's quite different now. And so that energy must come from here before it's transformed itself to the diaspora so that we can meet people like you, organizers, even the Writers Guild, for instance. If when the Writers Guild was buzzing, a person like you would come down to Dominica. We had persons from overseas like Funse Ayej Gina. That's a guy from Africa. He was I think he died a couple of years ago. He was resident in Jamaica, and the African guy came down to teach us. And persons like Dr. Walcott, yeah. All those persons taught us. Myself and Jenno Jacob, we went up to Miami on creative workshops. Celie had some training too, also guys who came down there. That was where the guild was alive and well. And even persons from the diaspora came down and did stuff with us. But now we just find there's a dormancy in Dominica as far as the art is concerned. We can hardly see one play a year. I mean, and that's very serious. So I think it has to come from here first. Education for people like Dylan who is coming up and so, and getting the education and expanding so that we can actually reach across to people out there and say, look, you can come down, this is what's happening here, and help us out. So that's my response.
I want to make a comment because somebody asked me about the Literary Arts Festival, Nature Island Literary Arts Festival, which we started several years ago, and it went on for a number of years, where established writers would be invited to come to Dominica and make presentations on various topics which we gave them, and they would launch their books and sign and talk to budding writers on what their dreams are and what they can do to further it. Of course, these things are very expensive to run, okay? And when you're talking about bringing in people, because there are a lot of writers in England, Caribbean writers. To bring a person from England is how much $1,000 just in airfare alone. And then you have the hotels and the meals and everything else. So it's a very expensive thing. And although we got quite a bit of funding to cover those costs, but you find that after a while, when a person sees you and they say, what you coming for this time? Okay, because you're begging for only cultural things. And they look at you and say, what you want again? That's how it has been. So you find that these things fall along the wayside. And a lot of it too is the younger generation. Something has happened to them with the television and their phones. where they're constantly on their phones and really hibernating because you're just watching a screen like that. They're not being exposed. They're not having discussions. They're not that kind of thing. So it's really being lost.
Okay. Yeah. Mrs.
Barbara Bully
Yes.
Thomas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm Barbara Bully Thomas. And as an early childhood educator, I think everything should start with the children. Start in schools, having little plays, encouraging them to compete. When I was younger, there were lots of singing competitions. I used to go to all of them in St. Gerald's Hall. You are out there and you're trying your best, you rehearse, you practice, and you go out and you really want to do your best. Before getting out there to do anything like that, the first thing I think our children need to be taught is to be proud of being a Dominican, to be proud of what Dominica has to offer. We have a wealth of talented people in Dominica. They just need the opportunity to go out there and do it. And there are not enough performance events for people in Dominica. It's like Anita was saying, everything is geared for television, and we tend to want to judge the level of the delivery by what we see on television. We're not doing television stuff. This is Dominican. We have to appreciate our culture and find the best way to do it. I also have mentioned many years ago, having seen in, I think it was in the Philippines, where there is a definite set, constant performance going on. Whenever tourists would go to that part of the Philippines, there's a show. Every day there's a show. And I said, why don't we get some of the young people, young youth, like Dylan was talking about, who might be interested in performing, train them so that they belong to that particular group. Somewhere in Dominica, the Old Rosa Market, somewhere, that every time a cruise ship comes in, they are there to perform, not just a dancing or whatever. There's a play. The young children can be taught to write plays. One group starts the beginning of the play, another group has the middle part of the play, and the third group has the end of the play. Then they switch around. So they get used to writing these stories, making up things, be more creative. And let's get them going. But there's not a platform for that. We should have something like every month or every other month, there's a competition for young students, for young children, singing, writing, dancing, everything that goes with the arts, just to encourage them to get out there and not to be afraid. And now with AI, it's a songwriter's dream. As a singer-songwriter myself, I would have to pay to get somebody to arrange something for me. I can now go on the AI song platform, sing a song, and next thing in 15 minutes I have 3 versions of the song. And I'm not saying that that is the right way to do it, because I know that our musicians need to also have the opportunity to make money. But it's creative. It helps you to get something going. So if children are saying, oh, but I think I can write a song, I encourage them to write a song. I know a song about Dominica. I encourage them to speak Creole. I encourage them to feel that that is a richness of our culture, to be able to speak another language and to get out there and do it. So
Thank you very much.
That's what I'd like to have.
Yeah, thanks. And we'll have one more. No, 2. And you have to.
Okay, good evening. I would just like to take this opportunity to tell you that at least there'll be one play this year. La Cudeza de la Dominique will be presenting Fly on the Wall, which is a Caribbean play by Dobrin Omad, an Antiguan playwright, and this will happen in September. So we're making this promise to you. At least there'll be one play this year.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. Let's try to keep it as short.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Anita. Hi, everybody. My name's Kitwana. Well, that's what I call myself now, but I know you know me as Blanc. Okay. I spent 30-odd years in the UK doing youth work, specifically targeting young black children, right, in terms of their culture, their history. So I want to comment on something that the young man, the young man there, Dylan, that's right, something he talked about. what became apparent during those 30 odd years I spent time doing youth work, right? What became very apparent to me was that there's got to be what we call the passing of the baton. They are going to be the ones, if you want to see Dominica get where it need to, whatever, they're going to be the ones that's going to take it next, right? Now, it's very interesting because one of the things about doing youth work in the UK, I began to ask myself, why is it that so many young people in the UK, black young children, were doing the arts? And you know the reason they were doing the arts? Because they didn't like doing exams. So they didn't do science, they didn't do math, they didn't like doing exams. I'm not saying every one of them, by the way, but those I came across always like to do the arts. So I set up a youth project that focused on that, and I wrote programs, film, music, theater, dance, and photography. Those are the 5 things I focused on, because that's the things that they wanted to do. Now, when we talk about the arts here right now, and Ian talked about something very earlier on about our expression as a people. But it's interesting, actually, because that's not by accident. One of the reasons we have this expression, and even Europeans will tell you this, we have this expression where we just do things differently, it's a right brain thing. If you understand the brain, it's a right brain thing. The right brain responds visually to things, right? If you look at our music, we have this way of dancing and moving. You go to a church, a European church, you go to a black church. That's 2 different churches, 2 completely different expressions of church, okay? So when we come back, so when Ian, I'm just going through the points very quickly, right? So when Ian talked about that, I thought, oh, it's a right brain expression. We understand it, because Europeans tend to be more left-sided in their thinking. That's where the separation of things come from. We tend to be more right-sided in our thinking, so we see the whole more than we see different parts. Okay, so the future of what it is you're trying to do here needs to be passed on. It needs to reach those young people and give them the things that they need. Yes, we got the AI and all of that taking over, but if they're not buying into what we're doing, then at some point when the generations that are here now are gone, we got no one to pass it on to. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is it, Doc? Yes. Okay, let me just make 2 quick observations before I pass on back to Dr. Joseph to bring us to a close. I can remember some time ago in Grenada in the 80s, and we were speaking to some Grenadians, and they were marveling that we could speak Creole as young people. And then, we took it for granted. And then I see Dominica being like Grenada that it was, where we are losing Creole again. So I think this is something that we have to be mindful of, because the language is actually disappearing right in front of us, where even our own children do not speak it. And the other thing was I wrote something about sustainability. And I just want to share it with you quickly. When I reflect on the word sustainable, I am often reminded of the banana industry. For more than 5 decades, Dominica experienced what many of us believe to be a sustainable industry. As someone who is a product of that industry, I have always admired the organizational and management structures established during the colonial period, particularly the pivotal role of the Banana Growers Association. The DBGA enabled farmers, including my grandparents and many others in rural communities across Dominica, to survive economically without mortgages, own their homes, feed their families, and send their children to secondary schools. For many in my generation, that opportunity changed the course of our lives. The DBGA maintained a system that addressed production, management, marketing, and all the other key aspects of the industry. And one of the most significant features of that system was that all registered banana farmers were allowed to sell their crops, whether they farmed 1/2 an acre or 1,000 acres. Those who were not registered had to work through a registered farmer. Importantly, the DBGA operated as a fully independent private sector organization. I bring up this particular point to say that with the arts and cultural industries, we need some type of structure some type of coming together, some type of management structure that could take care of quite a number of the things that we have discussed here tonight. Because as it is now, we are losing poets, we are losing dramatists who would like to be dramatists, but the structures are not there, and we have to start in the schools. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it was a pleasure being with you tonight. Thank you very much for coming, and I will hand over to Dr. Joseph to bring the curtains down.
Thank you again to Mr. Severin Mackenzie, who did a very good job as our moderator for this evening. Thank you very much. In addition to closing us off, I will give brief remarks as a vote of thanks. So we are very grateful for the presence of Her Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton and Mr. Burton, who have been here with us this evening. Thank you very much for your presence as well as your interest in our discussion on building sustainable arts and culture industries in Dominica. I wish to also thank Ms. Gloria Septra Augustus for leading us in the opening prayer. Our thanks to Dr. Barry Casimir, Program Officer at UWI, for delivering the welcome remarks. Mr. Severin Mackenzie, who was the moderator and did a very good job in keeping our speakers on the 15-minute schedule, if I do say so myself. Thank you very much, Mr. Mackenzie, for serving as our moderator this evening. Our panelists, Mrs. Anita Bully, Mr. Ian Jackson, Mr. Dylan Regist, and Mr. Raymond Lawrence, thank you very much for your clear presentations this evening. As a public speaking tutor, Dylan, I was really impressed. I'm not easily impressed by students, but I'm very proud of you. And I really, really want to encourage you to continue to speak. Only do not tell people that you're nervous, and do not tell them about your braces. Then they're not your doctor. They have no business about your braces, okay? But you did an excellent, excellent job, as did the other panelists. And if we get the information, we will put it up on our web page as well as through our email so that people can get the information. So thank you very much to all our panelists. To the Alwin Bully Foundation, who worked on preparing for this evening, all the members who assisted, thank you very much. To my staff at UWI Global Campus, who have been in the capable hands of Dr. Kazimi. I am on leave, by the way. And so Dr. Kazimi has been leading that charge. I thank Mr. Seaman, who was here providing technical assistance, as well as Ms. Kidisha Pinard, who provided the clerical assistance for this evening. I want to say thank you to them. And you will not be seeing me again until it's time for work, yes? All right, and I want to thank the audience for being here. Anita was a bit nervous when we were about to start and we hadn't seen the people, but the people did come. So I am very grateful for your presence. And I want to wish you a safe journey home. To those of you who joined us live on DBS Radio, thank you very much. Thank you to DBS Radio and DNO for being with us and covering the event. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you all. I bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Stand for the departure of Her Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton and Mr. Burton. Afterwards, you'll be able to speak and fraternize with the panelists. Good evening, bye-bye. All right, so I invite you to give your congratulations to the panelists and come on down and have discussions to your heart's desire. Thank you very much once again.